Hello, everybody. This is Jen here from Pure Juicer. This is really a special day for me. I have Quentin Vennie here, who I have been following closely for a couple years now. He is the founder and CEO of Equitea. He is also a wellness and mental health thought leader. I am so thrilled to have him here. He is the father of 6 kids. He is from Baltimore, but lives in LA now. But forever Baltimore and a little bit of Seattle, which we might talk about later, a little bit of Seattle in his heart. But Quentin, thank you so much for being here and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm a little starstruck just because, everything that you wrote in your book, which is Strong in the Broken Places. I want to just make sure that that comes out first, is a book that I read maybe last year, but I kind of use it too as just a reminder for me about just the importance of what you write in the book and just how it applies to everybody. But anyway, it's just really good to have you here. And Strong in the Broken Places is his book.
Strong in the Broken Places. It was a labor of love. It was an incredible blessing and opportunity to be able to work on something like that and to share my life, especially, it was a life that for a very long time I didn't find much value in, so didn't think that anybody else would find value in it. But it's been just an incredible anchor for me. So thank you for picking it up, for supporting it, for reading it, for sharing it, and for this conversation.
Thank you. I thought it would be good to maybe just start a little bit with your story, and then we'll dive into some of the tools that you have in here. And then we can talk a little bit more about other things after that. I have so many questions.
No, of course. My story. It's important to note that it's still being written, which I love, right? The progress, the possibilities that exist. But to give a brief synopsis, I was born and raised in Baltimore, as you mentioned, Baltimore forever. Raised by a single mom. My father was addicted to drugs, so he spent a large portion of my life and childhood in the streets and in prison. Just a victim of the heroin epidemic that Baltimore was known for in the 80s and 90s. I went to schools that were populated by individuals who didn't look like me. So at a very young age, I learned what it felt like to be othered, to be racially profiled, to have my history and my value ripped from me, or the attempt to have them ripped and stripped from me. I went on to be diagnosed with anxiety, generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, major depressive disorder, PTSD. Spent 2 years fighting an addiction to anxiety pills. I attempted suicide twice. I survived an accidental drug overdose. I struggled with alcohol. But through the modalities of yoga and meditation and juicing and the ritual of tea and gardening, and I was really able to find a place of sustainability, of healing, and of purpose.
I feel like I would not do this interview service if I wasn't really real about this. And I mean, putting juicing aside, just, you've walked this hero's journey of having sort of a foundation ripped from you and having to look within to find strength. And I know that your mother was there for you in a lot of ways. And I know that there were educators that wanted to be there for you as well. And that's wonderful, but it doesn't take away what you went through and how challenging that was. And to hit that bottom, that I just am so grateful for, that you are still here, that you were able to find something that brought you back to yourself. I mean, it truly is the hero's journey, because you've not only brought yourself back, but now you're giving it back to others. Through your book, through your speaking engagements, through your business, Equitea. It is the hero's journey.
Thank you so much. That's truly humbling. I've never really heard it put that way. So I really appreciate you putting words to something that I feel, right? I mean, you know, for me, it was just my life, you know, and you know, I've been to hell and back, you know, and I feel like it would be a disservice of my presence on this planet to hoard that and not make it, you know, accessible. I'm a firm believer that a shared experience can be a saved life, you know, and if it weren't for the likes of, you know, other individuals that came before me, who's to say that I'd even be here, you know? And so I think us really sharing our lived experiences and our shared humanity is the bridge and pathway to finding that level of healing that I think we all deserve.
Well, and I think that as a man, that, you know, being sensitive is not always looked at as a strength. Um, and I can relate to the sensitivity and just how much the world impacts me. And when you talk about getting back to nature, to movement, to meditation, to these things that quiet this crazy world that we're in, for you to find that and have it healing, I know I can really relate to that, because there was no drug, or whether it was legal or not, that really helped me the way those pieces have helped me. Do you want to talk about maybe the trinity of wellness that you speak about in the book?
Yeah, I talk about yoga, meditation, and juicing. You know, it's like for me it was my trinity that ultimately got me away from prescription drugs, got me outside of my addiction, gave me something else to put that addictive energy into. I'm a firm believer that the addiction doesn't go away. We just find other things that take its place, you know. And for me, you know, I used to call myself the green juice junkie, you know, like that was, you know, that was my thing. It was, you know, every morning, every afternoon, every evening. You know, and so yoga helped me get into my body, you know, helped me to discover who I was physically. What I love about the practice is that it's called a practice, right? It's not yoga perfect, it's yoga practice. And so it always gave me something more to look forward to. I would never, and I will never conquer yoga, right? Like I can do a perfect bench press, but I will never conquer yoga, right? It's always a journey. So it's really my metaphor for life. Meditation helped me to really find grounding and find this spiritual connection with a higher purpose, a higher power, with universal energy. And then juicing gave me everything that I was lacking from a nutrition standpoint, as well as the the practice of juicing, right? Like you know, it wasn't really just like going to the store and buying a juice. Like it didn't do it for me. Like I needed to go through that process. I needed to know everything that I was putting into it, and really make it my own. You know, it's like I always say, like I'm drinking the sun, right? And like, what better way to fuel your body than to drink the thing that helps give us life?
I love it. For yoga, you probably can do this. Can you do shoulder stands and handstands?
I can do a shoulder stand. I can do a handstand against the wall. I can do
Yeah.
shoulder stand, forearm stand, headstand, handstand. I gotta be up against the wall. I can't get my hips to go in the direction without tumbling over yet.
Okay, I have not been able to do that. For some reason, I just got to keep my feet on the ground. For some reason, I just can't let it go. For meditation, do you meditate in the morning? Is that sort of your practice, or whenever you can, kind of a deal?
It's usually in the morning, and you know, like a day like today, I've been up since 5 this morning and just been working and running. So, you know, I'll probably take a good 10 to 15 minutes to ground myself before going through the rest of my day. And then I like to get into that practice. I would say it's less of a meditation in the evening. For me, it's more visualization. You know, I'm a firm believer that what we input into our minds and our psyches at night, we go into this outer body experience when we sleep, right? Like the cells regenerate, our body heals, all of this.
Yeah.
What also happens is, you know, we start to put into our souls, our cells, our spirit, all the things that we want to manifest, right? And so when we wake up, we're really in a space of like chasing after that thing, you know, and that's, I'm a firm believer in manifestation, and that's worked for me for many, many years. And so, you know, at night, I, you know, turn off all electronic devices. You know, my daughter sleeps with us, so you know, we turn on the she sleeps in the room with us, so we'll turn on cricket sounds. You know, the room is pitch black, and while she's going to sleep, I'm breathing, but I'm consciously thinking of what it is that I want to manifest, whether for that moment, for my life, for my children, for my business, for the next day, for the next 3 months, whatever it is. And I hold that, I embody it as if it already exists. And then I go to sleep with that on my heart.
I just listened to a podcast. I really love Bruce Lipton, who's been working on health and biology. He's kind of into this quantum biology, but he was saying that when you're between the ages of 1 to 7, your brain is sort of in theta wave, which is a hypnotic state. And the only time you get that as an adult after that is right between deep sleep and awake. And so one of the things that he said is if you want to change the habits that you formed or the thought processes from that early phase in your life, that is the best time to do it. So you're once again intuitively knowing that. But I thought that was amazing. I thought that was amazing and a little scary.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know,
yeah.
But
yeah.
it's, I think it's beautiful because it's all a part of this journey, right? Like so often in our lives, we feel so disconnected because of societal standards, you know, because of their whatever, right? Whatever you want to call it, right? We're often disconnected from ourselves, and we're disconnected from others. We're disconnected from the earth. And we, you know, as I've gotten older and gone through this journey, like I realize how connected we all really are, you know? And so it's, you know, I'm often looking for ways to continue to expound upon that, because the more I learn and can execute in my life, then the more I can then teach, you know, and share with other people, you know, how to do the same thing, you know.
Yeah. Let's talk about Equitea, because it seems like, you know, this whole process led to this business. And part of what I love about it too is that you're finding ways. I mean, I know my son, well, I'll let you just talk about it and then I'll add to it, but let's talk about Equitea and how it was formed and how it's going.
No, yeah. It was created out of necessity. You know, my son was diagnosed with ADHD. We had done everything from pulling him out of traditional schools. He would do yoga and meditation. He was juicing. He was, you know, on a gluten-free diet. I mean, you know, behavioral therapy, occupational therapy, talk therapy, and he was still struggling. And so his neurologist suggested, he was struggling primarily in school, not in life. He's never had behavior problems, just always had a difficult time academically. And you know, his neurologist has suggested that he drink tea, in the green tea specifically. And the idea was the L-theanine, which is naturally occurring in green tea with the small amount of caffeine, would actually, you know, mimic the reaction of Adderall, right? But without the risk of dependency or any negative side effects. It would give him a calm focus. But the problem was all of the teas that we would buy at conventional grocery stores and even natural grocery stores that were just very low quality, had very minimal nutritional value, didn't taste very well. And so it became a struggle trying to get him to drink these teas. And so if you know, my wife and I kind of made the decision that if we were going to even see if this was a viable option, we needed to figure out how do we make green tea palatable to a 9-year-old without adding a bunch of sugar and other additives. And so it just really started, you know, with a lot of trial and error, and you know, experimenting with different teas and botanicals, and learning as much as we could about teas and countries of origins and flavor profiles, and you know, just kind of became a Dexter's laboratory of sorts, and you know, figuring out what worked and what didn't. And we landed on a blend. It worked for him. It was something that was a part of his day-to-day ritual and routine, became a part of our family's ritual and routine. At the time, I was an executive working in nonprofit. My wife was an executive. And so I ultimately stepped away from my job due to some racial issues I was dealing with at the time, and made the conscious decision to make available to other families what we had created for our own. Right, very similar to my own mental health journey. I realized early on that if I'm struggling with this, then I know countless other families are struggling with it, right? Whether they were struggling directly or with a child, a grandchild, a cousin, a best friend's child, we're all impacted by it, right? And so we realized that because we had to create something, there was a need, and we wanted to fill that need. And so Equitea is a mental health based company. We use adaptogens for all of our teas for functionality and efficacy. And our aim is to destigmatize mental health, democratize the beverage space, while also making accessibility to mental health products more viable and more equitable.
And how is it going? It seems you're doing incredibly well. You're getting recognition and support, and I know we love it too. My son has given up the herba mates that are all the rage, and he's actually shifted over to Equitea. We've tried adding juice to it, but I will say to anyone out there watching this, don't add juice. Just, it's already perfect as it is. And I thought it would be fun to do that as a collaboration, but I'm like, that was my biggest lesson. I'm like, nope, there's no collab required. Just drink it the way that you made it, because it's perfect as it is.
Thank you so much. Well, what's interesting, I need to get you some cases we just reformulated. So it's the same formulations, but we enhanced some flavors. It's slightly sparkling now.
Oh.
And so we just finished production a few weeks ago, and we'll be launching a new flavor. It's a peach ginger white tea that we go into production on Thursday. So that'll be, I'll make sure you and your son get some, because what we had before was incredible, and this is even better. So yeah, but thank you for that. And it's going well. We're sold nationwide in 400 sprouts. We ship nationwide via our website, equitea.com. And we're gaining some great traction and interest from a few other major retailers. And so we're in early conversations, but hopefully I'll have some more exciting news to share in the weeks to come.
Amazing. Let's talk a little bit about juicing as well. So you had this green juice. Can we talk about your green juice? And here's an example of green juice.
Yeah, my green juice. So, when I first started juicing, it was interesting. I just finished. It was the day that I had I was still taking pills. I was still addicted to pills, and I just gotten out of the hospital, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to take these pills anymore. And I ended up being rushed to the emergency room, because what I didn't realize is the amount of pills that I was taking was so high that stopping could have caused me to die, right? And so the one thing that was killing me was also keeping me alive. So it was just a bit of a challenging thing to conceptualize, right? And so I came home, and I was like, all right, I have to figure out how to do this. I wanted to find other people who had healed themselves, from different things. And that led me down a path of watching Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead with Joe Cross, who I ended up meeting and getting a chance to actually hug in person, because he contributed to, him sharing his story. Again, a shared experience can be a saved life. Him sharing his story led me down the path of thinking that it was for me. Though he was battling obesity and an autoimmune disease, and I was battling anxiety and prescription drug addiction, the possibility existed. Right after that, I saw Fat, Sick, and Crazy Sexy Cancer with Chris Carr, who was fighting stage 4 cancer, using things like, enemas and veganism and yoga and meditation and juicing. And everything that I was watching at the time, the commonality was juicing. And so it was like 2 a.m. I was at my apartment in Cockeysville, which is a suburb of Baltimore County. and it was a 24-hour Walmart. And I went out and bought a Jack LaLanne juicer from Walmart at 2 o'clock in the morning. I went out to the produce section. I bought a ton of fruits, vegetables, things I'd never eaten before. It was like, screw it, I'm gonna try to juice it. And I didn't know how to juice properly. So I would juice every ingredient individually and put them into separate containers. And then I would take a cup and I would just pour each one in individually until it got to the flavor that I wanted.
That's good.
Most of it was, I would say, for the first 2 weeks was trash. I was like, whoever's drinking this is like crazy. Like, I don't know if I can do it. And then I started like YouTubing videos, like how to juice properly, and that green juice with the kale, spinach, celery, cucumber, ginger, apple. That was the first juice that I actually learned how to make properly. I adjusted the recipe a little bit to fit my palate. But that juice was the foundational juice that I drank to help me get off of prescription drugs, and also help to reduce the withdrawal symptoms.
I think you mentioned it was trash in your book too. I want to say that.
It was awful. I was like this is disgusting. Like, I've never liked salad, and I was like, I hated the juice even more. I was like, I may as well just eat the salad. But then I knew that if it was working for other people, I knew that I just was screwing it up. I just needed to figure it out, and so that's what kept me going. And then I was like, oh, I can make this taste good, and it's also making me feel good. Like, eureka. Struck gold.
I love that green juice. I've been replacing the spinach with green cabbage, and instead of celery, I've been doing lemon, but lemon or lime is good. And I think that one is great. I actually just tried putting a little bit of stevia leaf in today because a friend of mine is growing the stevia plant, and I like to chew on the leaf, but I don't think it worked very good in the juice. So it's still a work in progress. I would call that one a trash juice as well. But I had to try it.
It was probably better than the first juices I made, I guarantee you. I couldn't even finish them. I was like, look, I'm spending all my money on this produce. I'm wasting it. Like, this is awful.
Did you notice a difference right away? I believe when we talked once, you said you noticed a difference pretty quick.
Once I got the hang of it and really started to, like, I used to get and still sometimes I'll get it depending on what juices I make. I'll get a what I call it, like a juice buzz. Where it's like, my body is absorbing so many nutrients at one time that like I'll feel intoxicated, and so I felt the difference immediately. Again, it helped with, I didn't feel, when people say, oh, your withdrawal symptoms, like, or, I quit taking pills and smoking cigarettes in the same year, all from doing yoga, juicing, meditation, and my evening cup of tea. And so two of the things that like are typically the hardest things to quit, I was able to do them successfully without ever really remembering any withdrawal symptoms, because I was drinking 38 to 62 ounces of juice every day.
Yeah, I worked at Free and Clear in Seattle, and learned it's a smoking cessation program that is also run by states, and it's harder to quit smoking than it is heroin. And so to do that without medication, those two is amazing. You also mentioned there was something about the whole process of juicing. And I mean, that's actually something that I love. And Hillary Phelps talks about that too. It's just the meditation of the vegetables, not only the physical, but the smells and the everything. Do you want to talk about that at all? Or
it's very meditative, it's a way of really just like kind of, as someone who struggles with anxiety, one of the things that, has always been a practice of mine, like if I'm driving and my anxiety starts to get triggered for whatever reason, I need to call somebody. I usually call my wife or my mother or a friend, if whoever's available, so I can talk. It's the distraction. For me, juicing doesn't serve as a distraction. It serves as a practice. It's a practice all in its own, right? And so, like you said, the process of watching the juice come out, watching the vegetables, get pressed, the smells associated with it, the whole house will smell like cucumber, and and it's just such an incredible sensory experience all around, right? And it makes it, for me, it just makes the juice taste that much better. I get my children involved. They're like a part of the process too. Every time I'm juicing, somebody will come over with the stand and like, hey, can I press it down? Can I push the button? Can I hold the cup? And it's become a family activity.
I hear that a lot. I hear that juicing becomes a family activity, and what a wonderful thing to pass down, and what a wonderful thing to include with kids, because disease is just happening earlier and earlier. And so if you can maintain that gut health and maintain cellular strength at an early age, the breakdown and the repair is less. And we still see things like, live it up in your 20s, because, come 30, 40, 50, it's all downhill. And it's like, how about maybe we just incorporate some things that don't break us down so fast, that are cool and beautiful and wonderful. It doesn't mean that healthy has got to be boring and too green. Like you said, it doesn't have to be trash. It can be beautiful and fun and a way to bring people together. That's me then.
And delicious, right? I
Yeah.
turn 40 this month, right? So like it's, people still don't think I'm outside of my 30s, it's like, being healthy is the cool thing to do. It's like you pay for it now or you pay for it later. Either way, you're gonna pay for it. I'd rather, be in my 40s and still be able to do my yoga practice and walk and hike and play with my kids and run and play basketball on the court. Like I know people that are 35 years old that can't do it, and so yeah, like my daughter is 2 years old. She starts her day with a green juice. She starts her day with a cup of tea. We're using E3 Live, we're the whole family. Like it's the way we are now. Right. And so like, being healthy is the new cool.
And our bodies thank us. I mean, how did being healthy not be cool? That's what I don't understand. How did that not be cool? I don't know, but it's nice to see generations smarter, than my generation was, where that was not cool. It was, how bad can you treat yourself and then get up and do whatever you do. So I know, yeah.
I mean, I think for me, my culture and where I came from, I grew up in a food desert, and so we didn't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables. When we went to the grocery store, it was like our kale looked like the drug addict that was on the corner, slumped over and dark. It's like, why would I ever want to buy that and put that into my body, And when we did eat vegetables, it was like kale and collard greens, and we were cooking it, and mixing it with a bunch of salt and seasonings and turkey necks and ham hocks and all of these other things to add flavor, because that's ancestrally, like that's what we had, right? And so we made do with it, right? But for us, it was more of an accessibility thing. And so when I was, when I got older and was able to graduate from my neighborhood grocery store to a natural grocery store, or to be able to get organic or whatever it may be, the door opened up. And because it opened up for me, I was like, okay, I need to introduce this to everybody else. So I had my mom drinking juice. I had my father drinking juice. I had, my uncles and aunts and cousins drinking juice. Like it was, it was a thing, and I like to think that because of my journey, I had a hand in being able to offer that and provide that to other people. And, now I'm doing the same thing still with juice, but also now with tea. And so it's like, it's a great full circle moment.
I have a sibling who has ADHD that was diagnosed as an adult. So I hope that he starts to drink that too, because there's plenty of people of all ages that still have it. And I just think our young boys also just are naturally gravitate toward the higher energy and toward a different type of concentration. So I know for my son, he struggled too. And there were many times when people wanted to put him on medication. And I'm like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I know what my body does on it, and that is a hard no. Until it is destructive to many people, it's just no way. But you found a solution that I never did, so I'm so grateful that you did that. And I hope that more and more kids and parents, you know, because there's a lot of parents too out there, even if you're on social media. I've pretty much diagnosed myself with ADHD. I mean, all you need is a couple memes that pretty much confirm we all need to drink that tea.
Yeah. And we all need to drink that juice, you know, like you know, it's not like the coffee tea battle, you know,
Right.
like either you love coffee and hate tea, or you love tea and hate coffee, but like, or you have some people that are kind of in the middle, right? But with this, it's a, you know, it's not an either or, right? It's a and both, right? Like we need the juice, we need the tea, we need yoga, we need meditation, we need the sun, we need, you know, these are all things that we like need for a holistic, well-rounded way to be well, you know.
Yeah. And I know that you've had the juicer for over a year now. And I was just wondering how would you describe the Pure juicer over the other juicers that you've had? I mean, do you find that, yeah, what is your experience with it?
I think for me personally, the Pure juicer is by far my favorite juicer that I've ever had. And I'm not just saying that because like we're on this podcast, you know, like if it was trash, I'd say it was trash. I don't know how to not be honest, right? What's interesting and quite frankly, I still don't understand is how the juice comes out to be so creamy. Like when you said it at first, you were like, all right, you're gonna experience a creamy juice. I was like, what the hell is creamy juice? You know what I'm like, what is this like what does that mean? And I know what it means now. You know, my sister-in-law came over here for her birthday, for her and her husband, and they were talking about like they went out and like bought like juice shots, like ginger juice shots. And I was like, from the store, and they were like, yeah. I was like, nah, I got something way better. That's gonna be trash. Let me make you something. They're like, no, 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 don't go through it. Listen, it's gonna take me 5 minutes, right? I got an apple, I got some ginger. Let me just make you this. I made them the shot. They were blown away. We'll talk about this more offline, but they want to buy a juicer now. And so like everybody that, you know, I introduced this to, they know I'm a juicer. They've never had juice taste like this before. I will like literally just press grapes and just drink grape juice that is rich and sweet and creamy. And, you know, it has the color from the skin. And like, it's like when you juice with this machine, like, you know, that you're getting the best of the best from every fruit and vegetable that you try. I mean, that you put in, you know, it's a powerful machine. It's heavy as hell. But it is an incredibly powerful machine that will literally transform the texture and flavor of these fruits and vegetables. It's incredible the way that it works. I still don't know, you know, how or why. I don't know the science behind it. But it's an amazing machine.
We are working on some science around it, because if you taste the Pure versus other juice from other juicers, it is thicker. We know that if you press a papaya, because you can, I don't know if you've done that, but you can make papaya juice. So you cut the ends, you cut the middle, take the seeds out or not. It depends on what you want. But then if you just put them, you know, side to side, like with the skins, and you press it, the only thing left from the papaya is the skin. So you're really, there is something to be said for soluble fiber, which is in juice. And we don't talk about that because there's, you know, many people just tell people that it's just sugar water, and a lot of juice is sugar water. So, so they're right in some instances, but there's also a level of other fiber. There's so many more than just soluble or insoluble. So I'm getting to the bottom of it, but I don't have the science of it yet. But yes, there is something to be said for it. And that fine mesh cloth that strains everything, ensures that it is silky, creamy, and very easy to drink.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like I said, my daughter, she drinks juice every morning. She's 2, you know. I mean, it's an everyday thing. We make pops, you know, so we're not buying like strawberry or mango pops in the box. from the grocery store. Like we literally bought molds, and I'll juice apple. I'll, put some strawberry in there. We did a peach grape. We've done the strawberry apple. We've done a straight up grape. I've done grape and pomegranate. I mean,
Oh,
just in pops, and all the kids, like I got them for my 2-year-old, and now we got to get more molds because now the older kids want to eat all of them, and so it's like it's a thing.
I cannot wait for pomegranate season to come back because I am craving the pomegranates and the cranberries and the grapes. Those three are magic on like all levels, flavor, health, everything.
Watermelon. I mean, I juice the whole watermelon, like the rind, skin, everything. And normally in a regular juicer, if you juice all of that, the juice comes out like really dark and dirty looking. But with the pure juicer, it's still that bright, vibrant color. It's not, there's no oxidation happening, so you're keeping all of those live enzymes intact. The bioavailability is so much greater, and it makes you want to drink it. It's not a chore.
Next up, you have to try shaved ice because you can take your grape juice or whatever juices you're making with your daughter and just throw ice cubes into stage 1. And you don't need a grid plate or anything. Just keep it without the grid, and it'll shave the ice perfectly.
You just add the grape juice. I'm making it tonight. I'm gonna do it tonight. It's done.
It's so good. It's so good. Please let me know.
It's an incredible machine.
I'm just so glad you have it, and I'm glad that you're able to use it with your family. I mean, that is the story that we hear, and but I also believe, and Pierre believes, that the best juicer is the one that you have. So it doesn't really matter what the juicer is as long as you're taking those steps to, give your body what it needs to take care of itself and find balance, which you have demonstrated beautifully.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything else? How can we follow? Do we go to Equitea? Do we go to Quentin Vennie? Like, what are the ways that we can follow up with you for anyone who's watching this?
Yeah, my Instagram is Quentin Vennie.
Yeah.
But I do all of my work through Equitea. So website equitea.com, Instagram Equitea Co. But wherever you find me, you find Equitea. So and vice versa. So either one. Always looking forward and excited to connect with people and just continue to build this community of healers, of wellness seekers and practitioners. We all deserve to be well, and being well is a human right, and should be treated as such.
Nothing more to say on that. Thank you so much. You are truly a hero for so many of us, and I'm so glad that I know you.
Appreciate it. I'm glad to know you. Thank you.
Thanks.